Got it. Next.
Please be seated. So it's a pleasure to welcome you all to our recognition of achievement ceremony. We've got among our visiting lecturers, we've got examiners, we've got our staff and researchers, and of course we've got our Chair of Council, David Holgate here. And most of all, we've got our students whose success we are celebrating this morning. And then, of course, we've got our students from the August intake who will see what's happening so they'll know what's happening at the end of the year. So welcome to everybody, and we're very proud of you and are pleased to celebrate with you today. Can you hear? Okay. Not. Now? No. But I can speak loudly. That's okay. So can you hear me now? Yes? All right. So most of us remember our first graduation or a special graduation. I think if you all think back, one of the graduation ceremonies where your family were with you, or it was the first time you were doing it, and it brings a memory to mind. And of course, maybe a special graduation when you either got a special degree or a PhD or something like that. Maybe you attend the first one and the last one. I don't know. However, at AIMS, we would like this to be a special memory, especially for those of you who are receiving an award today. You know, it's been a long year. It's been a year of getting back to normal. If we flip through our ceremonies for the past 3 years, we see, well, you know, 2019, we had a ceremony. 2020, we didn't because it was online. 2021, we didn't, it was online. And for both intakes. And now finally we can sit together again and celebrate this with everybody. So I think the sound has come back. Now I can stand back. So we're pleased to do this in person, and we're pleased that everybody is here to celebrate together. With that, I'm going to ask our academic director, Simakai, to lead the academic part and the awarding of the certificates. And then, of course, we'll have some people giving some talks about the experience. Thank you.
Sorry. So I'm just going to say a little bit about the academic year for the 2022 students. Although you're the January intake, you began your academic year in February to line up with the National University programs. And you've done 3 phases: compulsory skills courses, electives, and also you've just completed a research project phase. Your compulsory courses included computing and LaTeX with Jan Herneveld, which runs for the whole year. You did Python programming with Martha Kamkuema and Paul Taylor, experimental mathematics with SAGE with Carl Dieter Chrisman, entrepreneurship with Karen Hidden, and for this intake, you did physics problem solving with Leandro Bunzayer. And amongst the electives were courses on quantum computing with Rafael Nepomechi, designs, matroids, and graphs with Nancy Neudauer, and mathematics of complex fluids with Jimmy Feng. I think one of the highlights for the students who took this course was elliptic curves and cryptography, which was run by Jörg Zintel, because with lecturer and tutor support, students did very well in what was a new area, I think, for all of you. So your program started online and it's moved on site over the course of the year. One of the special programs for your academic year was the House of Science workshop organized by Rejoice Gavi Molefe and the House of Science. And this workshop has aimed to support you in different areas of work, from your scientific communication to time management and career planning. But your program has had many components. It's been possible due to the support of all at AIMS, Barry Green, the director, all the departments at AIMS, the local, national, and international lecturers, AIMS funders, examiners, supervisors from the partner universities and other universities, the partner universities themselves who are going to give you your degrees, the AIMS network, and many more. Everyone has played a part in your completion. I'm going to mention the tutors by name. They're the only ones I'll mention by name because there are too many people to mention otherwise. Hosanna, Pacome, Joel, Sean, and before that, Dina, Alice, Karima, Sam. They've all worked with you at different stages of the program. Finally, I just want to mention that, as always, project supervisors set interesting topics for you to explore. There was a study of motifs in complex networks, and a theoretical and computational study of shallow water equations. Symmetry analysis of differential equations and spatial statistics were very popular areas this year. And mathematical finance was represented by a project on optimal stopping and option pricing. Among the machine learning projects was one on audio classification and bioacoustics. So it just remains for us to say congratulations to you, your family and friends, your supervisors and lecturers. You've completed your AIMS program, and we wish you the very best as you go on to new endeavors. And we hope you'll stay in touch with AIMS and let us know what you do next. Congratulations. Now I will ask Professor David Holgate, the chair of the AIMS Council, to come up to present the certificates to the students. Okay, so we'll start with the students from Stellenbosch University. Raylene Vanessa Kamga Matukam. Lekwara. Mahura. Denzel Spencer Ngwenya. Inala Sakala. Prince Digo Shivasa. Kanyiswa Chabule. And then the students from the University of Cape Town, Pamelo Pabalelo Morao. Percy Chikororo. Students from the University of the Western Cape, Madoda Kenny Dendeng. Surprise Machafela Hoto. Nakatso Mahoba. Kutluano Otomile. I have a further announcement. Women in Combinatorics is a platform and network for women working in combinatorics. They've created an award for women candidates at AIMS for an excellent project in combinatorics or related area. There's one award for each AIMS center in the AIMS network. And the purpose of the award is to assist the candidate in startup costs for a PhD program, for example, a contribution to travel. The award was initiated in the 2021-22 academic year. Even should the candidate not be planning to take up a PhD, obviating the need for the funding support, the award also includes some mentoring support. For the 2021-22 academic year, the Women in Combinatorics Award at AIMS South Africa goes to a 2022 candidate, to Ms. Dimakatso Makoba for a project entitled Learning from the Unseen, Waiting Time. And this project was supervised by Dr. Daniel Nicholson of AIMS and now also of the University of Oxford. Congratulations to Dimakatso. Thank you. And now we will have the student speakers.
Good morning, tutors, directors, lecturers, staff, students, and fellow graduates. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone who is here to attend this momentous occasion today. My name is Fortune Pitzile-Khwara, and I'm honored to speak on behalf of the class of 2022. I would like to thank everyone here at AIMS who has helped us to come to this point where we have the opportunity to come across this stage and recognize the completion of our structured master's program. AIMS was not just an institution, but also a home to us and also a safe place. The experience was amazing and challenging at the same time. When we came here, we were 15 strangers from South Africa and other parts of Africa. But today we are here as friends, colleagues, and most importantly, a community. These are friendships that we were not going to know if it was not this wonderful institution. These are the friendships that we were craving for. These are the memories we will ever for treasure. Because on top of the intense courses, we learn to live with each other, appreciate each other, and be ourselves with people who share the same dreams and ambitions in life. And yes, we learned not to plagiarize. We really learned a great deal here. To the class of 2022 and 2023, this is what it looks like to finish. And I wish you could see how we looked when we got here, when we still cared about how we looked, when we still ate fish and green rice. Then you will know that you need to keep on keeping on, and you will be celebrating in few months. Remember that a lot of people survived here, and if you work together and try your best, you will make it out. And the key is not to compete, but to work together. And at the end of the day, you will all make it. So the class of 2022, congratulations for achieving something extraordinary. We all made it. And whether you flew, walked, or crawled up through these 10 months, we all here wearing the same cap and gown and celebrating the same achievements. Remember that this day is a day of hard work, dedication, and discipline. Have courage, believe in your true self, that you can make a difference in everything you are doing. Whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, remember how far you have come. I wish you all the best. Congratulations. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kutwano from Botswana. I've been kindly asked to give a few reflections about our stay here at AIMS, kindly so by Dr. Simukai on behalf of the 2022 class. Unfortunately, I couldn't write anything because I was told that I'm going to be speaking for 2 to 3 minutes. So the AIMS experience needs a lot of time to reflect on because it's been quite stay here. So I couldn't write anything. This is just me pretending to have something to read. It's just my certificate, you know. So I'm just here to give thanks to the opportunity that we are afforded to by AIM South Africa, because the journey began back in 2014, 15 for me personally, when I discovered and found out about AIMS. I was still doing first year at UKZN back then. And I'm happy today that my former lecturers are here, Dr. Blair and Serene, to witness what they impacted in me back then. You know, so I found out about AIMS back then, and I always had an interest in finding out about what organization is this. And COVID came and gone. Last year, I took my chance and applied to come to AIMS. You know, and among a pool of many talented African students, I was selected to come to AIMS in August last year. But things happened, I couldn't come here in time, but fast forward January, I was here with fellow students from Zambia and Zimbabwe and Cameroon and South African students who joined the South African cohort. So it was 15 of us. So when you get here, AIMS, it is not what it is. You know, because when you get here, the reality is that, you know, it's different from the universities that you are used to. You know, the program here is indeed very intense, but we knew that our minds that, you know, we're selected amongst the best in the continent. So we have to give our best. So there was much pressure and high expectation on our part to deliver this program within 10 months. And the January intake is a very typical intake because the program is unstructured in the sense that you join the academic year halfway through almost, you know, so when you come here the first week, you jump into it, okay? You know, so fortunate for the August intake, they have a few weeks of doing skills course, easily integrating into the program, and they grow with it. But with us, we found an intake that had already started in August, and we expected to immediately start with the review courses. It was very challenging coming from different backgrounds. Some of the students with no background in programming, you know, it's very difficult in 2022 to understand how universities are not providing such key skills as prerequisites in the first years. You know, because the expectation will be that by the time you get to a graduate program like the AIMS Master's Program, you already have at least a background in programming, you know, because those are very important tools that we found them very useful, you know. And after 10 months, we can probably say that now we know how to use these tools in order to solve mathematical problems. I mean, one of our friends, Tsepo, will probably mention in his CV that he now knows how to program 9 out of 10 times. You know, but he really did do that before he came to AIMS. So these are very valuable skills that we really do appreciate. And we want to thank AIMS, Barry, and your team for really affording us this opportunity. It's quite invaluable, and the lessons learned from AIMS, we look forward to take them forward to make an impact wherever we are going, whether it's in the industry or as we continue with our academic journey. So thank you very much on behalf of 2022 for affording us this opportunity. Of course, reflections on our stay here, it will take more time, and we can always make suggestions different for us for improvements of other things to make the stay here as comfortable as possible. You know, but for today, we really want to thank and congratulate the class of 2022. I've seen resilience in these guys. They're really tough. Conditions were very stressful, but I've seen them working throughout the night and delivering assignments on time. And it was really admirable. I mean, I come from a background where hard work is not a choice, you know, but when I got here, I see these guys, I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are really tough. They know how to work as a team, you know, so it was really impressive. It made some of us survive this place. So it's really stressful being here, but I'm happy we have managed to finish our AIMS program, and the knowledge we have gained here, we will use it probably going into the future. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for those refreshing and honest messages about your experience and how you found AIMS and, of course, what you achieved. So, it's impossible to be at AIMS and not be deeply involved. You can be at a university and be achieving very well, but not deeply involved with each other. At AIMS, this is impossible, whether it is our administrative staff, our finance staff, Ihsan and his team, our academic director, all the students together, everybody becomes deeply involved. And so we are equally proud of your success. This is part of your journey, but it's actually part of our journey. Because each year at AIM, seeing something like this happen and seeing you reach this point leaves us with a really good feeling and a feeling of being connected in the continent. Not only connected in South Africa, but connected more broadly in the African continent and its growth and its renewal. And I think that is one of the things that we are most proud of, and especially then your evidence of that in the success today. So our guest speaker this morning is Professor David Holgate, our Chair of Council. And of course, he doesn't need a formal introduction because he's actually teaching at AIMS right now. So with a team of people, which is lovely. But I would like to say a few words, informal words. So, there are a few people that have been at AIMS almost from the beginning. Of course, Neil, right from the beginning, Fratana from the beginning, Jan, Ihsan, Emmanuel, all from the beginning. And then there were some of us that sort of came on board from the universities because we were part of it in another dimension. We were the environments that sort of supported AIMS and were excited by it when it started. It was roughly 2003-04. And David was involved right from the start. Around about 2005, he had students at AIMS. His students have gone on to do PhD with him and others. He's offered courses and supervised projects. And more recently, of course, we've been very fortunate because he's also involved with the National Graduate Academy for the Mathematical Sciences, together with Luiso Nongsa, who's on our board. And, AIMS is always in the position where it needs support because our students need bursaries. And so through the National Graduate Academy and through USAF, we were able to secure some support for bursaries, and that was mainly through Luiso and David's help. So not only in the daily sort of activity of AIMS, but also in the program that AIMS needs to run, he's played a role, and we are grateful for that. Everybody needs to do something, and part of it is actually finding the resources. And so it's resources, academic work, enthusing students, and then seeing their success. So we look forward to your talk, and you've actually symbolized those things in what you've done. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. I think you overplay what I've done. AIMS is a wonderfully inspiring place, and it's great to be able to be involved. So I suppose I should start. I'm not one who deals with formalities, but it's lovely to have everyone here, guests from the surrounding universities and the AIMS staff, but most of all, those of you who are celebrating today. It's nice to have you here. I was thinking about what to say, and I don't know if your culture and your background is similar to mine. I guess in some ways we're different, in some ways we're the same. But one thing I'm sure that is the same is if you go to your parents' or your grandparents' house especially, there will be photos normally in the living room, right? Can you identify with that? You go to there, there's a photo. And I have a theory. We can maybe test the theory, but there are three main photos that you see in the parents' or grandparents' living room. I don't know, would anyone like to make a suggestion as to what I think of? So graduation photos. Okay, so graduation photos are one. What are the other ones? Wedding photos. Okay, and what's the other one? Babies. All right, so I think my theory is correct. Those are typically the photos that you see. Of course, there are holidays and other celebrations, but it's babies, weddings, and graduations tend to be the photos that you see when you go to someone's living room. So why? What is it about these things that end up with a photo? Of course, there's the celebration, there's the event that's associated with them, and so it's a good time to take a photo. So that makes sense, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's somehow it's marking maybe a period of hard work that's led to something. So there's a celebration of that. There's an element of achievement. I mean, especially if you're a mathematician, it's an achievement to get someone to marry you. But so there's an element of anticipation of what's ahead. It's a start of something new. So the photos celebrate that and mark that, and parents and grandparents are proud of them, aren't they? I'm sure they speak to the people who come in about their grandchildren, or this person who got married, this person who got their degree. And yeah, it is, of course, a celebration of something that you've achieved. And in particular, to achieve what you've achieved here today is quite special. I did a little bit, you can maybe argue with my statistical methods, but I looked under the DHET, the Department of Higher Education and Training. They publish an annual report on the level of education in the country. And if you look at that report, they say the people that are aged between 25 and 64, so they're looking at people in the job market, 6% of those people have a university degree. 6% of people have a university degree. So already you're in 6%. Maybe you're not 25 yet, but you will be. So that's the first thing. Then if you look a little bit further, they analyze, according to the universities, what are the fields, the disciplines where people get their degrees. And mathematics and statistics counts for 2% of degrees. So if you, in the 6% with the degree, and you have a mathematics or statistics degree, you can do the maths. It's not 12%, is it? It's 12 in 10,000 that you are. So we're already more than 12. So there's no one left in the 10,000, thanks to you guys. Okay. And then if you go further and you analyze, well, how many over the years, each year, what proportion of degrees that are conferred are at the level of masters? So all things being equal, we can apply that. And this is where you probably argue with my statistical methods. But 6% of the degrees awarded across the South African system are at the level of masters. So then you've got 6% of 6% of 2%. If you do the maths, it comes to 6 times 6, that's 36 times 2, 72 in a million. Okay, we can probably argue as to whether that's a good statistical analysis, but you get the point. It's rare, isn't it? It's a remarkable achievement to be in this small group of people who have at least a master's degree in the mathematical sciences. So that's the first thing. So of course it's an achievement. You've done something that's unusual, that people can look up to. So yes, when the neighbors come to visit, your mother can say, "Hey, this Tsepo, he's got an MSc in mathematics," and they can say, "Eish." So yes, there's an element of achievement in it, and that's something that we can celebrate. But it's not just an achievement; it's a privilege as well. And I think you spoke a little bit about that, the students, when you spoke about AIMS. I think being at AIMS is especially a high privilege. You were chosen from a very competitive group to come to AIMS. So already there's a privilege involved in that. And if you think about what you're going to do in the future, which I'm sure is what you're wondering now, am I going to study further? Am I going to find a job? Maybe you've got no idea what you're going to do. It shouldn't just be based on the achievement. It should be based on the privilege. You think of, well, what has that privilege given me? What's that built into me that's going to take me further? And so I would say, don't ask, what am I going to do with my achievement? Ask, what am I going to do with my privilege? How's that going to impact what I do as I leave AIMS? And also ask yourself, what's unique about the privilege of studying at AIMS? We've heard a little bit about that. So, the one is that you've lived mathematics for a whole year. Not many people get the chance to do that, to be so immersed in mathematics. I'm sure there've been times when you wished you were living in something else. But once you fought through it and you look back, you'll see what a privilege that was, to be totally immersed in mathematics. And by mathematics, I mean in the broadest sense. And you didn't just learn mathematics, you learned about mathematics. So you've got a broader experience or understanding of the mathematical sciences. And that's also special about AIMS. If you go to any other university and you get a master's degree, you won't emerge with the same appreciation and broader understanding. That's definitely something special that adds to your privilege. Another bit that was mentioned is you become part of a network. The AIMS network is a enormously, elite is the wrong word to use, but it's a very special group of people that you're now part of across Africa. And again, if you've been to one of the other universities, you don't have the same entrance into that network. One day when you call up the Minister of Education in Addis Ababa, you'll find out that that person was also at AIMS. The network spreads across Africa, it spreads throughout South Africa, and it's a huge privilege to be part of that network. I think you've also experienced a greater variety and depth of expertise from your teachers and tutors than you would if you were at a regular university. I like to think that when I teach my students at my university, they get a good teacher. But there's no ways that the melting pot of teaching at a university is anything like the melting pot of teaching that you're exposed to at AIMS. And that's another part of the privilege of having been here. And I think that the other thing for me that is really valuable about AIMS is that you're exposed to a broad understanding of research as well. So typically our degrees at universities, you become quite focused quite quickly, and you become an expert in something fairly small. AIMS doesn't have that approach. Yes, you do get some deeper expertise in some areas, but you have a broader understanding of research and what constitutes research and what's required for research. You can probably think of other things that you think make having been at AIMS a special privilege. But as I said, so my question is, when people walk into your mother's living room and they see the picture and they say, oh, there's my daughter, he got his MSc in mathematical sciences. He drives a BMW. No, that shouldn't be what they say, okay? It shouldn't be, he's got a big job. That's not what you're after. They should say things like, he really learned so much mathematics, he just can't stop sharing it. Or he fell so in love with research, he's carried on, he's doing his master's by research, or he's doing his PhD. Or now he's involved in this laboratory where they're doing research. They should look at your photo and say to the neighbors, not what have you achieved materially, but how has this privilege of mathematical experience walked with you into the future? So well done. It is an amazing achievement, and I hope you take some photos today so that your parents, your grandparents, your loved ones can put them in the living room. People can point to them and say, what did this one do? But the answer shouldn't just be that they got an MSc in mathematical sciences. The answer should be they're living mathematics in whatever way you carry on living mathematics. So that's the challenge. Enjoy the celebration, take stock of the privilege, and carry it with you as you go from here. And thank you for all that you've given to AIMS, because we've learned a lot from having you here as well. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, David. That was a wonderful message to all of us, and a lot of things for us to think about too, and some work to do about it. Thank you so much. Right, well, let's celebrate with everybody again by giving them a round of applause. This concludes the formal part of our recognition ceremony. So now what we'll do is we'll have some photographs in the front of the graduates, and then we invite everybody to enjoy some tea and lunch outside the finger lunch. Thank you.
Yeah. You move that for me, thank you.
That's
So the makes I can see them in space. Because otherwise. Yeah, you said that. Yes, everybody can just share their credits. I think we're good.